Okay, let's start with a little history of TV. Now, I'm not going to go all the way back to Crook's Tube. We're going to start with 1925, which is when they started the first TV broadcast here in the United States. It was on a tiny little picture tube in a great big box. And the first broadcast went from Washington, D.C. to New York City. And it was addressed by Herbert Hoover, who was at that time, I believe, Secretary of Agriculture, something like that. Next big event in my chronology of television was the 1936 Olympics. Back to Hitler again. Hitler set up a TV so that he could broadcast from the Olympic Stadium. You know, remember, he was the one who sponsored the 1936 Olympics because he wanted to show off the superiority of the Aryan athletes. Didn't actually work out that way. Actually, 18 blacks from the United States won 14 of the 56 gold medals. So that was like a quarter of all the medals were won by black Americans. But anyway, back to Hitler's intent.
Guess that didn't prove his point too well.
Well, I don't think, I think his point was absolutely ridiculous, but
Right.
that's my opinion. It's my belief. Anyway, back to Berlin. So he wired the stadium, and he was broadcasting to 28 locations all around Berlin that his friends and supporters could be watching. And catch this, each of those 28 locations had a 40-inch TV screen.
Wow, 40-inch screen back in 1936. That was unheard of.
Well,
that time, I mean, we just had those boxes that were at the most 28 inches or something.
Oh, I can remember it. I don't know, 4-inch TV, 6-inch diagonal TV. When I first saw them in the 1950s, that's when it really became, I guess, affordable for the U.S. to get involved in TV and brain control. By the way, between the 1925 broadcast and the the broadcasting that they did in the 1950s, they changed the flicker rate. The flicker rate was 18 in 1925, and they put it up to 55 to 60 in the 1950s.
Went from
18
to
55 to
60.
I think they used 55 in the US and 60 in Europe. I'm not really sure. But that just happens to be the flicker rate that triggers the alpha state in humans.
Oh, so this has nothing to do with scene change.
Nothing to do with scene change. This is a flicker rate. The only way you can see the flicker rate is if you turn on TV and you attempt to film it with your video camera. You'll see there's lines going up and down. That's a flicker rate. That's the thing that immediately, actually within 3 seconds, drops you into the alpha state.
Into trance.
It's as good as a hypnotized state. It is a hypnotized state, actually.
So, but by the time I was born, it was 55 flickers.
Yeah.
55 flickers, is that per second?
I think it's per second.
I wonder what it is now. I bet.
It's the same.
It's still the same.
Well, you see, they have to have that same flicker rate because it harmonizes with your alpha state. It puts you into the alpha state. It would be like having, if you turn on TV, the first 4 or 5 seconds would be one of those spiral wheels, that they always show when they're trying to hypnotize somebody. And that's what this does. It's like a spiral wheel the whole time you're watching it. So you go right in. Actually, you go into the state. If you watch TV regularly, you go into the state in 30 seconds. They did an experiment where they got people that had never seen TV, and they wanted to find out how long they could survive without going into the alpha state in front of a TV. And the first time they watched, it was 45 minutes before it hypnotized them. The second time they watched, it was something like 15 or 10 minutes. And then The third time they were like us. The minute you look at it, within 30 seconds, you're in a hypnotized state.
Oh.
It's an altered state of
You'd
consciousness.
think that you would notice it. I mean, if you were aware and you were sitting there watching, you'd think you would notice.
Yeah, well, it's what happens when you drop out of your conscious mind and you surrender you open up your subconscious.
Mm.
And see, your subconscious doesn't weed anything out. It's your conscious mind that does the judging and throwing out.
Filtering
And you're rational. No, they put you in a state where you're hypnotized and you're totally in another state of consciousness. You're totally open.
You have no more discernment over what to believe is real or unreal.
You're very open.
Mm.
And that's where they want you. In addition, your subconscious can read subliminals. They notice all the subliminals that are going in that. And even though it seemed to be illegal for a while, they never stopped using it, and they use it very heavily today.
Mm-hmm.
Also, your subconscious mind responds to stuff that your conscious mind doesn't know about, like symbols.
Mm-hmm.
That's why a lot of the programs are heavily symbolized. And, they mean nothing to your conscious mind. Your mind that was, a normal, rational human being today. It's your subconscious. It's a basic part of what Jung would call the collective consciousness that knows about these symbols and knows what they mean. And so people that create TV programs use these things liberally, even to the point of using an alphabet, because the different symbols used in alphabet trigger different things in your mind that you're not even aware of. It's really, really most insidious.
Yes.
I think they use technology, techniques, and style. And the first thing about the technology is that the radiant light from the TV itself, just the light coming out, we're not talking flicker rate or anything, it releases endorphins in your body, which are natural opiates. And just because it's an internally produced opiate doesn't mean it's any less addictive than an externally produced.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Light.
Just the light, and you have endorphins surging through your body.
So even if you put your TV on and put it on mute and listen to music, you're still receiving those endorphins.
Your body is secreting endorphins. Yes, that's exactly right. I was reading about one study that took place in West Germany, where they took 182 participants, and they offered them some money. I don't know how much money, which would be very relevant to this study, but I don't know how much money they offered them to stop watching TV for 1 year.
Oh.
That's all they had to do.
I bet you it was a lot of money because they must have needed a lot of incentive not to watch it.
Well, I don't know how much they offered them, but not one of them was able to stay off the TV for a year. None of them got the money.
No kidding. Couldn't do it.
No, it's because it's an addictive drug. It's internally produced, yeah, but it'll have you secrete. It's still addictive. So it's an opiate addiction. And every time I think of that, I think of when Britain took over China, how they ruled China. China's an enormous place with, I don't know, they probably have half the world's population when Britain took them over. So to control those people, how did they do it? They got them all hooked on opium. There were opium dens all over China. And that's how they ruled and controlled those people. I don't see it any different today.
No, it's the same thing.
It's the same drug. They're just administering it in a little bit different way.
Whoa, that's incredible. Hey, I don't know if you remember this, but years ago, when my parents came to visit us, my mother insisted on having a hotel room she wouldn't stay at the house with us, even though it was significantly long drive to the nearest hotel. Yeah. And she even told us that she really wasn't comfortable there because we didn't have a TV.
Well,
she needed to be in the hotel room so she could get her daily fix of TV.
I can see it. Well, they have TVs all over their house. And when you go out somewhere to dinner, the people that own the restaurant don't want to lose you as a customer. So they continue your opiate addiction by having a TV mounted in every direction where you can look. You think it's because they love you and want to entertain you. But now you know.
Yeah.
It's an addictive drug.
It's unbelievable.
Also, there's other things that happen while you're on the couch watching TV. The higher brain regions diminish. And the lower regions of your brain, like your limbic system, and what's commonly called your R complex, increases. Now you're seeing things through the eyes of a reptile, and you're in a hypnotized state. Your lower brain is activated. You're in the R complex, which is the fight or flight response, and the R complex has no idea the difference between reality and what they see on TV. So if you see somebody murdering somebody on TV, your reptilian brain has just seen somebody murdered. It doesn't differentiate. And actually, I think we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but they store it as stored memory. Mm-hmm. So your R complex sees somebody head shot off, see somebody get machine gunned. That is stored in your memory with, the same place your loving kisses from your children are stored. I mean, it's all the same thing to the R complex.
I have a perfect example. I have this memory of seeing a car accident. I think it was in New York City at a street corner. The car door was open. The woman was hanging out of the car with her head severed, dangling from her body. And I have this very vivid memory, but I honestly don't know if it's something I saw on TV or in a movie or if I really saw it. But I think I really saw it.
Well, it could be. There's that famous story about Ronald Reagan and the story about coming in on a wing and a prayer.
Right.
He'd always relate as a story that took place in his life, coming in, landing the plane, coming in on a wing and a prayer, under battle circumstances with I believe it was the bottom gunner who was going to ride it out. And they were all heroes, and they came in on a wing and a prayer. And he tells it as if it happened to him, but everybody, when they hear it, they know that it's just something that
a scene from a movie
Ronald saw. And well, I don't even think he acted in it. I just think he saw it on TV. So
it's
it really does
you
happen.
Can't separate out your real memories from things you may have seen on the TV or in the movie theater.
No,
it's unbelievable.
And also, there's another phenomenon that happens, and this might be a little bit more difficult to explain and ask questions if you don't get it. There's no way that the reptilian brain can reconcile quantitatively what's actually going on. So if the reptilian brain sees something on the local news, like 2 people got shot, he thinks, the reptilian brain, she thinks, I don't know whether it's a he or she, but they think that there's a lot of people getting shot in their neighborhood. They may live in a city where there's 55 million people, and the fact that only one person got shot is something to actually celebrate. But the reptilian doesn't see the 55 million people. He sees himself and the people on TV being killed. Mm-hmm. So it becomes a real personal thing. Mm-hmm.